What's going on, everybody? This is Maximilian, and it's been way too long. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Life got in the way, and I just had a ton of stuff to take care of at work, and I was trying to get things situated with Mercadurka for some potential stuff that we're working on in the future. So, kind of been extraordinarily busy and somewhat negligent, so I do apologize. But finally, we are getting through the 8th gym leader. So, on your way to Clair, you're going to have to move a couple of these stones, which I did, I believe, in the last episode, or the one before that, some other past episode. It's really not that difficult. It's just pushing rocks through holes. Now, Clair, on the other hand, is a bit more of a challenge. So I got my Pokemon, I believe, up to level 36, except for Eevee before I started this one, because Eevee is going to learn Feint Attack when I evolve it into an Umbreon, eventually, and that learns at level 36, so once it grows to level 35, I absolutely have to have it evolve into Umbreon, otherwise, well, I miss out on Feint Attack. So I'm taking my time with Eevee, trying to play it very safe. The rest of my party I'm keeping at level 36, so we should be okay here. Now, something to keep in mind with the Dragonairs is that they all know Thunder Wave. And if any of you have ever tried fighting like your gym leader, especially, when your Pokemon are paralyzed, it's just... man, it's a trek. It's very difficult. So I'd recommend that you bring some paralyzed heals along. I think I had some full heals, so I was pretty good for this. But Haunter is going to be one of your best Pokemon that you have here, assuming that you're actually following along with my party. Putting your Pokemon to sleep, your opponent's Pokemon to sleep, is actually really, really good. And Shadow Ball is definitely not an attack that they can actually reasonably deal with. So it's going to do a lot of damage to them. They won't have resistance to it. And on top of that, they'll be asleep, which is excellent. Now, most of the other Pokemon I have, namely Quilava, Ampharos, and Feraligatr, people like that, all of their attacks are weak against Dragon-type Pokemon, which means they're kind of hard to deal with. So I'm trying to use Haunter and Xatu as much as possible, although these Dragonairs do know Electric-type attacks, which makes Xatu pretty hard to use against them. So trying to get in a few quick hits with them was basically all I tried to do for this battle, but I pretty much knew Xatu wasn't going to go anywhere because, well, Thunder Waving Bird Pokemon is pretty much suicide. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. So, yeah, just best of luck to you. Hopefully you don't get Thunderbolted if you have any kind of bird Pokemon in your party. So, yeah, that's basically the only advice I can give you, is just try and play around Thunder Wave as much as possible, and use Pokemon that aren't weak against them. I believe the only ones that aren't normally effective, at the very least, against Dragon Pokemon are Water, Fire, Grass, and Electric. Those ones they are resistant to. However, they are weak to Ice, most notably Ice. So if you can have any good Ice Pokemon in your party, like maybe Shelders or Cloysters, or potentially even something dedicated like Jinx that knows Ice Punch, something that would be really good against the Dragon Pokemon here. However, I didn't really feel like getting a level 22 Jinx and then grinding that all the way up into the mid-30s just so I could fight with it for this battle. It just didn't seem like a very efficient use of my time. So I opted to go with what I had. It ended up working on the first try, which is nice, because as we all know, losing to gym leaders is one of the worst feelings in the whole world. But I managed to get through it. Basically, she's got 3 Dragonairs and 1 Kingdra. The Kingdra is a little bit easier, even though it's a level 40, and the main reason for that is it's also a water type. The fact that it's also a water type Pokemon means you can hit it with electric and grass attacks with normal effectiveness, because it's super effective against one type, but it's half effective against the dragon type. So you can use your Ampharos and your Meganiums to a bit of an advantage there. Although for the Dragonairs, my best option for you is just Feraligatr Ice Punch, because it works. And just really, really hope you don't get Thunderbolted, because that's just going to be the end of you. So I brought in Ampharos here for this one to finish him off. Thunder Punch is super strong, especially with Ampharos, because it has one of the strongest special type stats of any electric Pokemon in the entire game. So I'd recommend you use Ampharos if you're going to go the electric route, because, well, I kind of have a bit of a place in my heart for Ampharos. I mean, he's so freaking awesome. I don't know why, I just love Ampharos. There are probably other viable options too, but I mean, it's definitely the best one that you have available to you. So I would recommend doing that. Now, after you defeat Clair, she's going to be a little pansy, oh, I lost, and she's not going to give you the badge because she's a whiner and a loser. Oh, and Quilava's evolving. Yes! Fist pump, finally, Typhlosion, the baddest ass of all the badasses, is finally here. So, I finally got my Typhlosion in, and all of you know, hopefully by now, if you've seen my red walkthrough, I am a sucker for the fire Pokemon. So having a Typhlosion in my party just gave me the giddies when I first got that guy. I was just so happy. And then she's like, oh, by the way, I'm not giving you a badge. Like, what the heck, man? I just beat you fair and square. Give me my damn badge. And she's like, well, no, you gotta go find a dragon scale. And we're like, oh, fine, be that way. And really, I don't understand the purpose of it at all, because it's not like there's anything in between you at all. You just have to go through one whirlpool, which you've probably taught to some random Pokemon anyway. I really don't recommend that you teach it to a Pokemon you plan on using. Like, maybe give it to, like, a Gyarados, teach it to him, and then forget it. Or maybe just find some temporary Pokemon that you, like an HM whore, I guess. Probably the best way to designate it. But, yeah, Whirlpool's really not that good of an in-battle move, and it's only used a handful of times in the entire game. So, one of this being the predominant cases. So I just brought out my little handy-dandy Gyarados, taught him Whirlpool, forgot it immediately, and that was basically that. So, I forgot the first time that I needed my Gyarados, I believe, so I kind of wasted a lot of time in here. Just unnecessary time, so I apologize for that. But basically all you do is you find your way to that Whirlpool right there and go through it with Gyarados. Unfortunately, I don't believe I had him with me at the moment, so I'm like, oh crap, well, now I gotta go back. And that's about it. Now, I told you at the end of this episode I'm going to be announcing the Elite Four team. I'll get there in a second. I'm going to make you watch the whole video, though, because, I tend to do that. Whenever I've got something really important coming up that I just gotta tell you, I'm going to make you wait for as long as possible. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a dick move on my part, but you know what? Keeps you paying attention. And besides, it builds up more suspense. You feel all the more awesome when you finally get it released at the end of the video. So, I don't know. It works out for the both of us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Alright, so, where are we going to go from here? Well, we're not quite going to the Elite Four yet, because we got a couple of other things to do. First things first, we're nowhere near ready yet. Pokemon are going to have to be at least somewhere in the low to mid 40s before we can even begin to think of taking on the Elite Four. So there may be some level grinding involved. Hopefully not too much. I need to get my Eevee, come to think of it, a little bit more happy, because it's really close. It's getting there, but it's not quite there yet. I'm kind of trying to keep track manually in my head, but once I actually get enough haircuts on it to where it actually grows up to that next little rating quote or whatever from What's Her Face Lady in Goldenrod. I don't even think she has a name, but I need to get him up one more level of happiness, and then I gotta start counting up, I think, to 220, so 20 more points of happiness, which I think equates to about 7 good haircuts. And then after that, I'll finally be able to level grind it, just, fight with it a couple times, get it to grow level, and then hopefully, it'll be an Umbreon. I gotta make sure that you do it at night, because I think I mentioned that in a previous video. You really should take that into account, because it does not matter at all when you raise the happiness of your Eevee. It only matters when you grow at a level and its happiness level has been met. So, if you're going to get an Umbreon and you know it's close, make sure that you're only raising it at night, because that's definitely going to be the time you want to have it out. Otherwise, it'll be an Espeon, and then you'll know where to go. Now, you could save your game beforehand, because that's kind of a good way to get around it, So, I'd recommend doing that. Now, I'm going to go ahead with raising my Eevee, hopefully just, every day giving it a haircut, because we do have a couple other errands to run, aside from the usual level grinding. I don't think Eevee will be a huge part in either of those. But I know for a fact that before we go to the Elite Four, we're going to have to get Lugia, because, what's an Elite Four fight without Lugia? So, we need to go to, I think it's the Whirl Islands or something like that. I can't entirely remember what the name of the islands is called. It's not Seafoam, because that was in Kanto region. That was way back in first generation, old school game. But yeah, we're going to need Whirlpool to get there, so break out your HM Core or your Gyarados like I did. If you've forgotten the Whirlpool move already, don't forget it or teach it again. Yeah, because you're going to need to use it to actually get into the islands to get Lugia. And I would recommend talking to Professor Elm immediately after you get that last badge from Clair, because he'll give you a Master Ball. And using our handy-dandy little box glitch, we can get all the Master Balls we want. And it makes catching Lugia a lot easier. Like, a lot easier. I remember the first time I caught Lugia, I used Ultra Balls, which is okay. It's not nearly as bad as catching like a level 70 Mewtwo with Ultra Balls. But it's still pretty hard. And it's more hard than we'd like it to be, because, we like things easy in this game. We don't want to have any kind of obstacles in our way. We don't want to make it any more difficult than we absolutely have to. So after you pick up the Pokeball, she'll be like, okay, fine, here you go. Really don't understand that entire process at all, but whatever, sure, we'll take it. And she'll give you a Dragon Breath TM, and basically it's the first Dragon-type move that actually typecasts. So, yeah. If the Dragon Rage did a constant amount of damage in the previous games, which kind of sucked, but at the same time it was pretty good. Like, when it was in the mid-30s or 40s for your Pokemon level, like, it was just sweet. Because you basically could kill any Pokemon in 2 or 3 hits, tops. And you wouldn't ever have to worry about typecasting. However, once you get towards the later levels, like 50s and 60s, it basically becomes worthless because it doesn't typecast, it just does 40 damage. Kind of like how Sonic Boom with Voltorbs and such only did 20. This is basically a similar thing, but it's a dragon move technically. It just doesn't typecast. So Dragon Breath actually lets you typecast dragon moves. I can't remember off the top of my head what dragon-type moves are super effective against, but I know that there's at least a couple. There's also ones that's not super effective against, and I'm pretty sure one of them is Steel. I know for a fact that dragon-type moves are weak against Steel Pokemon, which kind of makes sense because, it's metal. There's not a whole lot you can do about that. But after you walk out of the cave, go ahead and talk to Professor Elm. Head on over there and get your Master Ball. I don't know what I'm going to do with my Dragon Breath TM. I'll probably just... maybe I'll teach it to Gyarados, because I would assume that since Gyarados, spoiler, didn't make the Elite Four poll, he's probably going to be going on the Red polls at some point, because we're going to have a completely different team for fighting Red. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I think I'll just hang on with it. Maybe I'll box glitch it and duplicate it, because it's actually a pretty good TM. I would recommend duplicating it. It's not like the crappy TMs that you used to get, like Bide or Mega Drain. Like, Mega Drain wasn't even that bad, but the fact that you had to teach it to a Grass-type Pokemon just really sucked. Because, Grass Pokemon, they were okay, but towards the end of the game, they were just really weak. So, that's just the only problem I have with stuff like Mega Drain. For the most part, the TMs in this game are pretty good. It's just the first few are just, yeah, whatever. But that's to be expected. So, go get yourself a Master Ball. And I would recommend box glitching that as soon as possible. I'll go ahead and take care of that in the meantime, because Lord knows I'm going to run into one of those beasties again, and I'll have to catch one of the legendary beasts, dog, whatever you want to call them. And this time I'll actually be able to catch it because I'll have a Master Ball and I won't have to worry about fighting it anymore. You can do it, but seriously, it could just be way easier. So, that is that. We are finally done with the gym leaders in the Johto region, which means we get to move on to Elite Four. And I am pretty sure that you're just dying to hear who's on the Elite Four team, so let's get cracking, shall we? First things first, if it wasn't horribly obvious already, Lugia is going to be on the Elite Four team. Duh. Moving on, we're going to get our buddy Typhlosion in there because, he's Typhlosion. He's going on any Elite Four team I'm running. Feraligatr is very awesome, super strong as a Water-type Pokemon, and you guys voted him in. Meganium was a bit of a surprise for me. I didn't think you guys would do it, but you did. Meganium is in. Haunter is also awesome, and I'm definitely excited for that one. And last but not least, Umbreon, who you guys, I kind of hinted at a while ago, is in the Elite Four. So stay tuned for the next few episodes. We're going to kick some ass with this team. Until then, see you later.